Whether you own one or not, there is no denying that the Volkswagen Golf creates a serious buzz. It all started in the mid-1970s when the company released the first generation that went on to birth the first GTI, a car that most people credit with creating the hot hatch segment. But the Golf didn't really crescendo until the early 2000s when the company first released the R32, a revolutionary car in its own time. But they haven't stopped there, and for 2015, Lady Liberty is getting ready to take delivery of this, the very latest Golf R. This is the quickest and most powerful version of the Golf that Volkswagen has ever offered in North America. It uses VW's new EA888 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder that makes 292 horsepower and 280 pound-feet of torque. Mated to a dual-clutch 6-speed automatic transmission, it's able to carry you from 0 to 60 in only 4.9 seconds, or about half a second slower than that if you get the manual. Of course, like all versions of the Golf R in the past, this is also mated to a permanent all-wheel drive system for increased stability. But what's different about it this time is that the Golf R has electronic differential locking and Volkswagen's XDS Plus cross-differential braking system on both axles. The system mimics a limited slip differential by applying braking to the inside wheels to offer better traction and reduced understeer. The car also sits 0.2 of an inch lower than the GTI, or 0.8 of an inch lower on its suspension than the normal Golf, and it gets the same bigger brakes that come with the optional performance package with the GTI. One of the best things about this car is that it has a very quick steering ratio, just like the GTI, and that, in combination with the revised suspension specifically for the Golf R, make it an absolute dream to drive on curvy roads. The brakes are also similarly very nicely executed. They feel a little bit soft at the beginning and have a progressive buildup as you start to stand on them that makes slowing down very confidence-inspiring and easy to predict. So you can look at this car one of two ways. Either it's a Golf turned up to 11, or it's a cheaper and more practical Audi S3. After all, it does share the same platform with that car and powertrain, except for one key point. You can get this thing with a manual. Although, honestly, the DSG is so good that I'm not even sure which one I would go with. Truth be told, the manual isn't going to show up until later in the model year, and this thing is so much fun that I'd almost be happy to take the DSG and get the extra performance and not worry about shifting my own gears. Okay, look, I love a manual as much as anybody else, possibly more, but the DSG really is that good, especially with a heavily boosted 4-cylinder engine like this one. This may not be an issue for you, but frankly, the pedals are a little bit too generously spaced for my feet in the manual model, and that makes it difficult to fully enjoy what it does best: carving through twisty streets and occasionally on a circuit. Although unfortunately, I'm not going to get any track time in the car just yet, but that does bring me to an important point. Just like the new GTI, this car has adjustable drive modes that change shift mapping, throttle response, steering weight, and in models with the adaptive dampers can also offer a comfort mode. Oh, and perhaps most importantly, for the first time in North America, traction control is fully defeatable. For better or worse, right now I'm really more focused on keeping this car pointed shiny side up, so to speak. But really, its most direct performance competitor is probably the WRX STI. It is worth pointing out that Subaru's hyped up hypo performance car has a much more aggressive all-wheel drive system than this one does, but the truth of the matter is what you give up in true rally-bred credentials with the STI, you gain back in spades with the Golf R in terms of ride quality, comfort, interior quality. Everything about it is really damn near, if almost exactly as good as an Audi product. I've said it before and I'll say it again, Volkswagen's MQB architecture really does lend itself to spectacular vehicles. Like in the GTI and in the more pedestrian Golf, you get the feeling that you're driving a much larger car because they tend to be very spacious on the inside, yet the reality is you're still driving a relatively small vehicle. I mean, this is a compact hatchback, so you get the practicality of a smaller vehicle that's easily maneuverable in the city, but you don't feel like you're cramped at all while you're driving. Mind you, this thing isn't exactly cheap. It starts at $37,415 equipped with the dual clutch automatic, including delivery. With adaptive dampers and navigation, that runs up to about $39,900. Now that's a healthy margin above the STI's $35,000 starting price, but keep in mind that a well-equipped version of that car starts at about $39,000 as well. At this point, it really becomes a question of preference. If you're willing to sacrifice ride comfort in the name of all-out performance, stick with the Subi. But if you're willing to skim just a little bit of that potential off the top, the Golf R offers a much more comfortable and much more practical package. The good news is you've got a lot of time to decide, because unlike past versions of the Golf R, this one is going to be offered all the way through the MK7 life cycle.